Thanks everyone. Hello, thank you for attending this session about SDC and Form API. Just a quick poll in the audience. Who ever heard of SDC? Who is using SDC? Okay. Who knows the Form API? Thank you. So now we are going to see how they can marry each other. So first, who am I? I'm Florent. I'm using Drupal since almost 14 years. I'm a contributor, and I mainly did the entity share module. Okay. The entity share module, and since a few years now, I'm very focused on the UI Suite ecosystem. This presentation is not focused on the UI Suite ecosystem, but it has a lot of links with it. Now, what is the current situation? So, you know, Form API has been introduced in Drupal 4. It was many years ago, and it was easy. And it's still kind of easy right now because it is simply nested arrays describing your form structure. You declare it like that, then it is processed, and you have your forms. Also, it is widely used in Drupal with a lot of interfaces expecting this kind of structure returned by methods. Now, next, less than a year later, we have the introduction of the render API in Drupal 5. It was inspired by the Form API, and also the same stuff. It is arrays, nested arrays, etc., where you declare, you describe how you want your stuff to be rendered. And also the same stuff, it is the expected structure of many return of interfaces. A new one, a new kid in town. Since two years ago, we have the introduction of single directory components inside Drupal core, Drupal 10. Now we can call it the front dev friendly render API. Why front dev friendly? Because there is no PHP involved, no PHP needed. It is focused on UI components. You can make reusable components with that, and it is focused on the tweak templates of what you want to render. It is automatically discoverable with plugins behind it. A render element is provided, only one render element needed, no preprocesses. And so with SDC, we can potentially replace a lot of existing render elements and hook themes inside Drupal core to simplify it. SDC right now, like a lot of you are currently aware of it, it is changing the display building. Why? Because currently in core there is only the API, and you can use it with code, but with stuff like layout builder and UI patterns, you can use it, you have a UI to use it in your configuration and to manipulate it through the UI of Drupal. Experience builder is based on it, using it a lot. And the upcoming UI Suites display builder module is also relying on SDC and UI patterns. So, what are the problems? There are two problems. First problem, using SDC in a form. Quick reminder of how a component is, SDC component is structured. It is made of slots and props. Slots are free areas where you put your data, you put your renderable arrays, so you can, that way you can nest also your components, and every stuff you can do with renderable arrays, you put in 2 slots. Props are type data to put a logic of UI logic into your template with available variables. For example, here, controlling where the image is displayed, or some heading level. And on the old side, renderables array are made of children and properties. Renderable elements are made of children and properties. So first, the properties with prefix with hashtag, and it can control some renderable logic. If here, for example, details if it is open or not by default, and then every nested mechanism is based on children which are not prefixed. And the same, it is free renderable stuff. So there is an easy analogy between SDC and classic renderable elements. You can almost map your properties with SDC props and children with SDC slots. Now, really, the focus on this presentation. We can insert right now, without changing anything in Drupal core, we can insert a form inside a component slot. You have your component, and you prepare your form, you build it, and you inject inside the slots. It is rendered, it is processed, you can submit it, etc. Classic. It works perfect. But what it can't do is to mix by using a component inside the form you are building, you are structuring. You can't do that. Here, for example, we have a basic simple text field. Then we use our component. Then inside the component, I want to put part of my form because I want this accordion, because I don't want the standard details of provided or field set provided by Drupal, because UI logic or design. And it does not work. Okay, it is displayed, but when in your validate and submit callback, you will not get the data. Because the form builder, it expects the children when building the form to process the elements, and also when doing data submission, without this processing, you will not get the data. So our first proposal is to, in components, render element components, is to get rid of slots, to put children directly at the root level of render element as children. And in the component element, we then parse those children to put it back into the hashtag slots. So that way, Form API is happy because it can go through your render tree to detect the form elements and to process it. And the component element is happy because it has its data in its slots. But with this change, you still don't get the values in your validate and submit callback because there is a mismatch between what is expected by Form API when you do form state get values, because it is based on parents and names and the automatically generated name. With this manipulation of the arrays, there is a mismatch and you still don't get it. What we propose is to use the name property because by default it is automatically generated by form builder if it's not provided. The default one is generated, okay? But what we propose to explicitly set it, and that way you can retrieve your values. We propose also, it is currently a very proof of concept. In two classes, form builder and form state values tray, we propose a very small change to use this name instead of parents. And that way, you are able to retrieve your submitted data in your validate and submit callbacks. Second problem. So now you can put form inside components. You can put components among your form elements. But next step will be to be able to define your form elements with SDC. Why? Because that way, your front dev can be more involved into creating new form elements, new form elements UI to be, for example, if you have some fancy JavaScript library for select list or sliders or what. Currently, form elements, you need PHP classes, so it is not very front developer friendly. So we move also the scope of creating form elements also to the front developers. And also we will have a second problem. It is components. SDC components are stateless, and on the opposite, we have forms which are completely stateful. Second point of why it is important, in design systems, around 20% of the components are form elements, and currently they can't be implemented with SDC. So we are missing a big part of design systems and the benefits of it. So our first proposal to make it work. We propose a change in the render pipeline because when we gave a look at how it is processed, okay, be able to get the value, we need to have input true somewhere because to have the values processed. And this input true, by default, it is added by element info manager when the form is processed, and if the element implements form element interface. And also it requires a name, which is automatically added by the form builder by default currently. And we propose, so the name, it is automatically, not automatically, but we are already using it, proposing it in the first problem we mentioned earlier. And what we propose is to change component element to be form element, to implement form element interface. It will have no impact of existing components which are purely presentation. But that way, we benefit from automatic processing of the existing services and manipulation done by the Form API. And from a user, from someone using the components, currently by code, for example, what it means for the user, it is just to add a property name to, and that way, component element can recognize that it is a form element and do some processing, because to be able to transmit a little bit of the state to something that is stateless, we propose also to inject a new variable form state, completely random name, to be able to transmit, for example, generated stuff, the name, value required, and maybe other keys later if needed. This variable will be automatically generated, like currently the attributes variable, and for form elements, for form components, it will be available. And that way, it works. Another question we are addressing is in Drupal in general, when you are displaying form elements, you have in fact two templates. The form wrapper, form element.html.twig, which handles the label, errors, messages, the descriptions, and potentially, depending on the form element, also other stuff. And then you have a tiny, very small template, input.html.twig, text area.html.twig, etc., for the proper input. And that way, with SDC component, we propose first to have a wrapper template, which also will print the input tag. But it is still discussion, and maybe I change that it will depend on the design system you are implementing and your needs. What will be the benefits of all those changes? First, in core currently there are 37 form elements. 4 are only applicative, item, language, select, submit, and value. So they are not suitable for SDC because there is no gain to transform it into SDC. There is no need of that. On the opposite side of the spectrum, there is 7 form elements without applicative logic, which are pure presentation, or have processing only for presentation, and those we purely benefit and are easily convertible to SDC. And in the middle, what do we do with other form elements? We propose to put the logic, extract the logic in PHP, which is purely there for presentation, to SDC component, and keep the applicative logic, validation, data validation, manipulation in the PHP class. Second benefit from front dev empowerment. Previously, with SDC, we have a front dev friendly render API, and now we fill the gap with a front dev friendly form API. No PHP involved because SDC, and still we have the SDC advantages of UI-focused and reusable components and now form components, which can be part of a design system implementation. So if you have modules, like I think it was SDC library or in UI patterns, modules which provide component libraries, also now your form elements will appear in this library. And so you can make business agnostic stuff which is shareable between your projects. Third benefit, like mentioned previously, with SDC in core, it is mainly the API. There is no UI to manipulate your components, but modules like UI patterns or SDC display or the SDC block, but here in UI Suite we are focused on UI patterns. On one side you have all your components, and on the other side you have plugins in Drupal like block, layout, field formatter, views plugins, and which are used in display builders like structure block layout, the view mods, with or without layout builder in views. And now we feel a missing part. With the form components, we can address also other plugin types like field widgets, web form elements, better expose filters, or other plugins which are using form elements to improve and cover more areas in Drupal, in admin UI, with components, manipulating components in it. So, like I mentioned, currently it is a big POC. No, it is at a POC state, and the POC is like 50 lines of changes in Drupal core, and there is also in the merge request the module which is used to do the illustration, to do the test, and that's it. So core changes is very minimal. You can go in those issues and give a look and share your ideas. We identified a few more steps then later we will have to question about and to see how we will address that. But yeah, you feel free to join the issues and share your opinions and your ideas. Also, yeah, the goal of this session was to make you aware of this gap between forms and SDC. Because SDC has been in core since 2 years, and currently there is no traction into filling this gap. Thank you for your attention. I hope you have questions. No questions? One, yes, no? Yeah, thank you.
I can ask something. I mean, for me, the main problem of the Form API is the state management. Mm-hmm. That the state is in the backend, but we change things in the front, and because of security reason, we need to manage the state. As far as I understood, this is not really addressed in this proposal. It's like a first step in changing Form API, but it will not address that, for example, the thing that to change the form using Ajax. Right?
Currently, Ajax is one in our next steps to see how we will be able to handle that.
But yes. do you have a strategy to manage that? Do you have a strategy
currently not?
Do you have an idea on how to solve that?
Currently, no idea. To be completely honest, I'm very happy that the first few changes make it work a little bit with default stuff. Maybe because the POC has started like 2 months ago, and initially maybe we will not be able to have something that was starting to work. So Ajax later, yeah.
Thank you.
Well. So no more questions. Thank you for your attention.